In this video, I'm going to be breaking down this weekend's main event between Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev, a technical analysis of the main event following this weekend. I'm going to do a video breaking down past fights of the two, recent performances, things to put into account here, potential game plans, etc. Key paths to victory for both gentlemen, and just break down the fight as a whole and give my official prediction at the end of the video. So, starting with the basics, Dricus du Plessis coming off of a unanimous decision victory against Sean Strickland, which resided back in February in Australia. Khamzat Chimaev's last performance, a round one rear naked choke submission victory against Robert Whittaker back in October last year. Now, we're going to start with Khamzat. We're going to start with the challenger here. Go through recent performances, paths to victory, and things to put into account. So, Khamzat Chimaev, as everyone knows, is a very offensive grappler. He's got dangerous submissions. He's got a relentless go-forward style, very aggressive, especially in the opening rounds. Everyone knows, what you see is what you get with Khamzat Chimaev. Everyone knows he's very dangerous in the early rounds of the fight. And as the opposite, if you do get him past round two, round three begins, you can have a weakness in Khamzat's game, if you will. Khamzat Chimaev has never been to rounds 4 or 5. He has never seen the championship rounds. He has been to round 3 2 times in his career. That was against Kamaru Usman and against Gilbert Burns. Now, we're going to talk about a lot of things I'm seeing people say this week, and that is the cardio issue. A lot of people are saying that Dricus du Plessis has a very big cardio advantage in this matchup, which essentially I agree with, but I do think that people are underrating Khamzat Chimaev's cardio in this one. Because of the circumstances that occurred in those particular performances where people were kind of nitpicking on his cardio. The Gilbert Burns fight as one. The Gilbert Burns fight, obviously, as we all know, Khamzat Chimaev is a very big athlete. He's taller than Dricus. He's very filled out for his frame. He doesn't have a lot of fat on him. He's not ripped either, but he is a lot more suited at middleweight, which a lot of people would agree. So I do believe that 170 was a very big cut for Khamzat. Obviously, he missed weight when he was meant to fight Nate Diaz. He ended up fighting Kevin Holland when he sinked in a round 1 Darce choke because of the replacement. I believe he missed weight by 8 pounds. I believe he weighed in at 178 for that. But Khamzat Chimaev's cardio has been underrated here, and that's honestly the truth of it. If you rewatch the Gilbert Burns fight, that was an insane pace. It was a very high pace, with knockdowns from both gentlemen, a lot of significant strikes landed on the two, grappling exchanges, the whole lot. And I do believe the main reason why Khamzat did look so fatigued in that one was obviously the big cut to 170. We all know that he was killing himself to make 170. I've seen his coach, Alan from All Stars Gym in Sweden, on a podcast speak about that cut for the Nate Diaz fight, saying that he could barely move. It was really bad. The doctor had to stop it. His body was shutting down. So it's common sense. Khamzat's a huge, huge guy. I even believe he's a big middleweight. He looked a lot bigger against Robert Whittaker in his last performance. So at 170, he was just draining himself. I believe at 185, he's going to be a lot more fresher in here. He's not going to be drained. He's more of his natural weight class. I do believe that we're going to see a more improved Khamzat cardio-wise if, he does get to showcase his cardio and the fight gets to the later rounds. But we also look at the Kamaru Usman fight. A lot of people are nitpicking at this one as well and kind of saying that he began to fade after round 2, especially in rounds 3. Again, very dire circumstances for this one. Obviously, he was preparing for Paulo Costa, if you did not know. He had a change of opponent on 4 days' notice, which ended up being Kamaru Usman. Um, Now, Khamzat Chimaev did break his hand in round one, which is being overlooked. People are looking at that performance and saying, wow, that wasn't really impressive. But he did break his hand in round one. So he fought 2 hard rounds with Kamaru Usman, former pound for pound, a stylistic change on short notice, and still won the second round. It was a majority decision. One judge had it a draw, the other two for Khamzat. I believe it was 2-1 Khamzat. But you're going from fighting a rangy kickboxing middleweight, a guy who doesn't tend to go to the ground at all in Paulo Costa, to a guy who's a very come forward offensive wrestler in Kamaru Usman. They're very different styles. Kamaru Usman rarely throws his kicks. Paulo Costa is very kick heavy, throws his kicks more than his hands. So it's a very big stylistic change, from Paulo Costa to Kamaru Usman. You're preparing for a different guy, and then bang, on 4 days' notice, he's thrown at you. You break your hand in round one. It's very dire circumstances. So after that, we all know Khamzat Chimaev was able to take down Robert Whittaker inside 1 round and get the submission. Looked very, very impressive. Not a lot of guys are able to take down Robert Whittaker, let alone submit him. It was a very, very impressive performance. We've never seen Robert Whittaker get dealt with like that and with that level of ease. But we're going to talk about Dricus as well. Now, his recent matchup was a dominant win against Sean Strickland, where he did look improved, especially in comparison to their first fight. Now, I do want to talk about that first fight with Sean Strickland. When he won the title, he won by split decision. I personally, I believe that Sean Strickland very clearly won that fight. Now, if anyone's familiar with the app Verdict, on the Verdict Global Scorecard, my opinion was, agreed with. It was 3-2, and that's judged by over 10,000 users. So what I'm saying is not outlandish. I believe that it was a very clear 3-2 based on damage and significance, not based on who's going forward and volume. If it's based on damage and significance, like they say, damage is the main scoring criteria, Sean Strickland very clearly won that fight. Now, I look at a lot of matchups with Dricus, and one thing that stands out is he does make a lot of mistakes, and mostly on the ground, which I believe is going to leave severe openings for Khamzat Chimaev. Now, Dricus du Plessis, I look at the fight like with Brad Tavares. He's got the body lock, he's in the clinch, he goes for a silly suplex or trying to get a trip, and he ends up on bottom position with Brad Tavares in full mount. Now, you make a mistake like that against Khamzat Chimaev, the fight can potentially be over within a minute. You kind of fumble a finish against Darren Till in round one. At the end of the round, you end up getting, pretty much mounted and ground and pounded into the mat. You end up with Derek Brunson taking you down. It's Robert Whittaker taking you down in round one. If Robert Whittaker can take you down in round one, so can Khamzat. And if Robert Whittaker got that takedown very easy, so can Khamzat. So, obviously that's MMA math. It's a very silly way to look at things, but it's common sense. If Robert Whittaker can take you down, Khamzat Chimaev can take you down also. Now, you could use the argument of Dricus du Plessis was not, expecting a takedown from Robert Whittaker, and he will be against Khamzat Chimaev. Now, this is one thing I want to talk about because this can go hand in hand with what I'm about to say with a potential game plan from Khamzat Chimaev. I do believe that him and his team are intelligent enough to go out there and know, okay, we have 5 rounds which to work. If we go out there and bulldoze Khamzat in round 1 and 2, even if we win those rounds, we've exerted a lot of energy into getting into certain positions, and we cannot finish the fight from there. And then it gets to round 3, it gets to round 4 and 5, which he's never entered in his whole career. That's when Dricus du Plessis can have a massive advantage and potentially win the fight or find a finish in the later rounds. So I do think that he will go out there patient. With exactly what I was saying with Dricus du Plessis, how he was not expecting the takedown from Robert Whittaker, which is why Robert Whittaker had success with it. I believe the same thing goes with Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev striking can cause problems for Dricus du Plessis because he's going to be preoccupied with the wrestling. Now, I've seen a lot of people say this week that Dricus du Plessis is the better striker. 100% that's incorrect. If you think Dricus du Plessis is the better striker than Khamzat Chimaev, you're a retard. Sorry to say it, you've obviously never been in a boxing gym in your life, or you've got zero mixed martial arts experience. It's very easy to tell if you've watched the fights between the two. You know, their UFC career, you followed their career. Khamzat Chimaev is the much better striker. Dricus du Plessis striking, now, it is shit. It's terrible, technically, it's terrible, but it works. And that's why people are saying it's very good. It's not good, it's shit, but it works because he's very confusing, he's very awkward, and it's a very hard style to deal with. It's hard to game plan for, it's hard to emulate in the sparring, etc. Dricus du Plessis, if you just go back and watch that, I beg you, if you really do think Dricus du Plessis has a striking advantage in this one, go back and watch that Darren Till fight. Go back and watch that Derek Brunson fight. You know, two guys who's not considered very high level in the middleweight division. He's getting dominated by on the feet. You know, Derek Brunson nearly TKO'd him. Darren Till had him against the cage. You know, twitching on. You know, biting on every single feint that he was throwing, you know, landing knees up the middle, landing elbows, you know, landing various lead hands on, like left hands on him. So his striking is not that good. He's got very good volume, which is one thing, and he's very good at coming forward and mixing it up. Now, Dricus du Plessis is a lot better at mixing it up than Khamzat Chimaev, which I believe is where he could find some success. Especially if you look at the Izzy fight, he's had various combinations. There was one where he threw like a 1-2, switched to southpaw, threw a leg kick, and then a spinning attack to the body, and it all landed. And it looked very beautiful and it looked very clean. And that's something that he definitely can have success with in this fight, is give Khamzat some different looks, chop up his leg, switch stances, you know, cut off the cage, feints. But yeah, just to address that striking call that Dricus du Plessis has better striking than Khamzat Chimaev, it's just not true at all. And to get back to what I was saying with how Robert Whittaker had success with the takedowns because Dricus du Plessis was not expecting it, I believe Khamzat Chimaev can have success with the striking because Dricus du Plessis is not expecting it. I believe the path to victory for Khamzat Chimaev in this one is to be patient. Number one, whoever has the more intelligent game plan, I feel, will have a much higher chance of winning this fight and will probably win this fight. I believe if Khamzat Chimaev goes out there, he doesn't go out there like he did against Whittaker, like he did against Usman, and shoot the takedown within 25 seconds and fight at a relentless pace. I believe if he goes out there, he feints the level changes early. Dricus du Plessis is going to be expecting that round one takedown, 100%. You watch the tape on Khamzat, he does it in every fight. He's going to be expecting that takedown. Use those feints to set up the shots on the feet. Get the respect on the feet early, which I believe Khamzat can. I believe he's a very underrated striker. He's got very good roundhouse kicks to the body. He's got a very good right hand. He's got power in his hands. He dropped Gilbert Burns with a jab. He's got very good power. So I believe a very good game plan would be for Khamzat. Go out there, be patient, settle. You know, let the first 30 seconds kind of play out. Give him a feel. Throw some feints at Dricus. You know, use your level changes. Get him thinking about the takedown, which he already will. You know, feint the level change. Come up with a big 1-2. You know, land a couple shots on the feet. Get Dricus thinking, okay, I need to be on my P's and Q's, not just on the ground and with the wrestling defense, but on the feet as well. That's where I feel like Khamzat can have success. Get your respect on the feet early. So one, Dricus has got to be worried more about, you know, with the feet as well as the wrestling, which can open up the wrestling more. And two, kind of stop Dricus from coming forward so, you know, relentlessly and crazy, which he has a lot of success with. You take that away from him if you begin to land shots on the feet. So I believe a good game plan for Khamzat, I believe a very likely game plan would be you see a very patient Khamzat in round one with what we saw with Ngannou in the rematch with Stipe Miocic. A lot of people were, you know, saying mythical fighter Francis patient Ngannou, which is, I believe we can see a patient Chimaev. You know, go out there, take his time, take your time, and then maybe at the last 2 minutes, the last minute of the round, then mix in the takedown after you've got the respect on the feet. Um, Honestly, guys, if I am going to give my official prediction, is going to be Khamzat Chimaev. I believe there's many holes in Dracus's game on the feet, obviously, but I believe that Khamzat Chimaev's more likely to exploit the holes on the ground for Dracus. If you just look at the basic film of Dricus du Plessis when the fight goes to the ground, he makes a mistake nearly every single time. Um, Whether that's with Brad Tavares entering mount, Darren Till getting on top, Derek Brunson, Robert Whittaker taking you down, he makes a lot of mistakes. And against a guy like Khamzat Chimaev early, you cannot make those mistakes. So I believe that we're going to see a patient Khamzat Chimaev in round one. Obviously, it's very likely that I am wrong. This is my beliefs. I feel like he's going to be intelligent here. It's a world title fight. You know, he knows he needs to be on his P's and Q's here, and he cannot go out there and exert all his energy in round one and round two, and then have Dracus wearing on him. It's very dangerous. Um, Obviously, the path for Dracus du Plessis is to get Khamzat Chimaev to where he's never been before, and that is into the championship rounds. But Khamzat Chimaev, I believe we're going to see him come out there in round one, mix it up on the feet, feint the level changes, and land shots on the feet and have success on the feet, because Dracus du Plessis is going to be preoccupied with the takedowns, and with the threat of the takedown, that's going to allow him to land shots on the feet. And then maybe we don't even see Khamzat shoot in round one, but I do believe he'll shoot in the last 2 minute, get Dracus down in the second half of round one after getting his respect on the feet. Then we're going to see him in round two, take him down. I believe we're gonna see Dracus kind of get urgent and panic on the feet when Khamzat gets on top of him, make a mistake, go for a silly scramble, maybe end up in a sprawl position, and that's when I believe that Khamzat Chimaev will sink in the Darce choke or the Anaconda choke. So official prediction is Khamzat Chimaev by Darce choke or Anaconda choke in round two. That is my official prediction. Now, before we end the video, I just want to go over paths to victory for Dracus. It's very clear. Weather the early storm of Khamzat Chimaev. That is where Usman had success in winning round three because he was able to survive the first two rounds, and that's where Gilbert had success because he was able to survive, that first round and a half and then do some damage on Khamzat himself. Khamzat Chimaev doesn't have the experience that Dracus has. Dracus has 5-round experience multiple times against different style of opponents, and get the fight to round three. Get the fight to especially round 4 and 5, where Khamzat has never been. I would not be surprised in this fight if we saw both gentlemen win a decision. I can definitely see path to victory for Dracus by decision, and same thing goes for Khamzat, because if we see a patient Khamzat, if we see him go out there and, take his time, like I said, Drake is going to be thinking about the takedown in round one, allows that to get out volumed. He takes round one without really exerting a lot of energy. Round two, he mix in the takedowns, get those. Round three, and then, even if we see Drake start to go forward and have success in round 4 and 5, it's too late. Khamzat's already banked the first 3 rounds. But if Khamzat goes out there and fumbles the finish in the first 10 minutes and exerts a lot of energy and being relentless and going like a spastic and shooting up takedowns 100 miles an hour, that's where Dracus can wear on him around 3, where he's lost round 3s in the past, and take away round 4 and 5, which where he's never been before. So, yeah, path for victory for Dracus is be patient, be defensively responsible, weather the early storm of Khamzat, get the fight to the championship rounds where Khamzat's never been, go forward, mix it up, chop at his leg, go to the body. Dracus du Plessis has very good body kicks, go to the body, and yeah. So, hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of a breakdown for the main event. Obviously, as you heard my prediction, I believe that Khamzat Chimaev is going to win this bout via second round submission, and I believe that will come by either Darce choke or Anaconda choke in the second round. But yeah, went over a couple of paths to victory for Khamzat, paths to victory for Dracus. If you are betting on this fight, be careful. When you get a guy like Dracus, a dominant champion, a very good opponent, and a very dominant challenger, an undefeated challenger, this fight can go many ways. This for all sake could end up being a fight of the year, a very back and forth fight, kind of like a Yuri versus Glover. So yeah, it's going to be a great fight. I'm very excited for it. Be sure to share your opinions in the comments below. Who you think takes this one? If you agree with what I'm saying, if you disagree, you know, let me know in the comments below. I will be posting my betting video later this week with my underdog of the card and lock of the week, etc. So thank you guys for watching and stick out for that video.